Okay. Back to sharing the screen. Share sound, yes. Here we go. All right, welcome to session 2. We're a little early, so I won't get too excited. But if you are seeing this recording later, you'll notice that I have a QR code up in the upper right. And we'd love you to take your phone and check it out and then tell us how you're doing in school. This is not a live picture, so I'll be showing you what you have shared with me. But this also is from Jennifer Lagarde. So as an example, you can also share people's Padlets and use other people's Padlets. And not everyone has to do all of the work. You can share the load. Just a big fan of that.
There's a million of them.
Oh, Padlets. Oh, the memes and the gifs. Yeah, isn't that nuts? Kids love them. It's funny how much they like them. It's 4:30, so I know Dr. Holly has to rush home to get in time. What's down here? Oh, more people. Hello, Amelia. Good to see you. Welcome. Amelia, do you happen to have your phone with you? Ah, shocker, right? Okay. We are recording this right now, so if anybody wants to enjoy me later, if you could take your phone out and go and look at the Padlet you're looking at here, has a QR code in the upper right. And I just want to know how school's going this week. We have SAT testing here, so not great. So not great. A little stressed. I remember how I had to take it. So glad I don't. So, Amelia, have you ever used Padlet before?
Yes, but not on my phone.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna do it with you right now then. And then you're just asking people to vote up the gifts that reflect how you're feeling as a learner right now in terms of how is school going.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that could be like, how is school going for you as a teacher, librarian, right? Or it could be, how is school going for Antioch? It'd be like, how do I wish school was going, right? I think it's humorous that pug can't get the ball, and that's the first one. Make sure nobody else is waiting. And then Andrea and Amelia, I don't know if you're aware of this, but should the need arise, I have office hours from 4 to 4:30. I don't know if you were okay, you knew. Okay, just don't need me. Okay, got it. All right. Other things you should know. I like long walks in the park. Okay, maybe you don't need that. Okay. I do actually like long walks in the park, but it's been very smoky here. Has it been smoky in Oregon? Yeah, it bums me out because it's gorgeous in Seattle, which PS is hardly ever, and it's a little bitter. Okay. And then to have it be so smoky is just awful. I mean, we had to cancel all sports yesterday. So are you in the same situation, Amelia? Do you have fires all over Oregon right now? No? Okay. Good. Good for you.
Yeah,
Andrea, I know.
not
No.
where I am.
Good.
So I'm just scrolling through all these GIFs and then I just hit the like button.
Yep. You just like it up.
Okay.
And I know there's strong contention about whether we call them GIFs or GIFs. I know it's one for the books. So yep. And you're just scrolling through and doing whether or not you like it. So full disclosure, this Padlet is Jennifer Lagarde's, and I'm going to start because it's 4:34. I want to honor your time. And Jennifer Lagarde used this on how is your reading life going? And then we were all in a training session with her and like, oh my gosh, how great is it to not have to look through a million of these ourselves? And so she's like, oh, I'll share this Padlet with all of you. So that's what we did. And so a bunch of librarians and I, we all used it as part of our training with kids. And then we reported back how it worked. And kids loved it. So it's a really great do now. And then we asked kids, is this a way that you can show your thinking and learning? Is by actually adding to this appropriate but funny kind of ways to share either social emotionally how you're doing, or even like the task of how school's going. And they said, yeah. And so I did this with a 12th grade class, and they were talking about how they were doing on their college essays. And so they did some of this, and then a couple of them created ones for me. So if you are new to the crew, welcome. And please take out your phones. And up here in the upper right is a QR code. And so, and you could use this as an example for your own students. So I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. Make sure I have all my participants. Yeah. Okay. And now I'm going to close this. And I'm going to show you how I use it. I know Andrea says she loves it as well. So if you are a big Padlet fan, welcome. You're in good hands. And then what I'm going to show you is other ways I've used it. And Andrea, if you want to jump into and say how you've used it. This is my dashboard. Andrea, can you see my dashboard?
Yes, I use it during, I don't use it now, but I used it when we were remote, just for students to discussion, question, student would add on, yeah.
And I would say for the same, and it's funny, I've been using it in class because high school kids always have their phones. I know at a middle school level that may or may not be happening in your school. And if you're elementary, hopefully not having phones, but parents are cuckoo, so who knows. But one of the things we've encouraged people, like I have a Ballard soup troop. So we have kids share their favorite soup recipes, and then we have a cooking community here, a cooking club, and then they share some of their food together. I've used it in my race and equity work with my staff. So this is my library staff, and this is how they felt about what we were working on. So we were doing some Goldie Muhammad. Some of this is when I worked with WLA. And then if you don't have any things that you're currently planning for midwinter break or holiday breaks or Thanksgiving, I have kids share. And then I have them kind of bring their home life in. So this is another way that families can actually participate. So I just say, hey, how are you enjoying the snow and recharging during winter break? And then I got all sorts, and I had my staff members do it, I had my students do it, I had my principal do it. So it was just another way that you can use a tool that might help you. So I'm gonna quit sharing. Andrea, do you want to share if there, or Amelia, because I know you said you used it too. Is there a way you use it in your practice?
Well, like I said, I don't really use it anymore. We're trying to get the students kind of away from technology right now. So they can't be on their phones. They do have their devices, but we're kind of going back to paper and pen right now. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
I have a question actually about Padlet. I was trying to do a jam board with my middle school kids the other day, and they just like they mess with each other's answers, they mess with their sticky notes, their text box. On a Padlet, can they touch other people's work?
You can put it in lockdown.
Can you do that on a Jamboard too?
I don't know if you can do it on Jamboard. I do know you can do it on Padlet.
Okay.
Which is why I liked it. Now it makes it difficult to go back in and edit your what you've posted, but for that exact reason, Amelia, if it makes you feel any better, I have seniors do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Crazy pants, right? So it's just one of those things that, Christy, did you have a question?
I do. I just wondered, do you post this on your library website? And then do you push it out?
Yep. So a couple things. One, I should say this tool is free. You get 3 free Padlets. I pay for all the extras you see here, but I for years operated with just 3. What's nice about it is just the way I shared with you. I could put a QR code out and then send it out to parents in my school messenger, which is all my parents, or I can actually send a link. Kids can go in via a link, or parents can go in via a link. So either of those ways are accessible. And Andrea and I were talking before people came on, one of the reasons I started with this with you all is because it is free. So I'm always going to try to use free tools with you. And 2, it's just another way that you can make people who aren't in your library every day aware of what you're doing in your library. So one of the things that happens all the time, and one of the things we're talking about in this session is technology leadership. So what's the good and the bad is that everyone assumes you know everything. And the good and the bad is everyone assumes you know everything. Okay, so because of course you don't. And so, but it's nice to have a little trick up your sleeve. And so oftentimes over breaks, I will post these things because families are at home. Oftentimes I've encouraged kids to come and get multiple things of books. And so I ask them, can you, like I have an extreme beaver reader campaign I do, and like extremely cozy, extremely wild, extremely, and just showing themselves reading. Any tool I can use to show what you're doing in the library and make like those 4 walls disappear, I think is a huge win for us. So now's my chance to ask you all, what are you using to have what interactive tech tools are you using to invite participation in your library? And if you do not currently have a library, then what are some things you've seen your librarian do? And then how do you see yourself introducing these tools to your staff and students?
I can start with this one.
Awesome.
One of the things that I have is just a QR code that's like printed out on all of the tables and near the computers that are used for catalogs that they can scan. And well, I have 2 different ones. So I have one that is in like English classrooms that just takes to the catalog. So students can look up and see if we have a book that is going there that we have already. And then they also have QR codes that take them to a Google form that I put out that is just like book requests. So whenever students ask me to get a book, I tell them to go fill that out, because I tell them that if they just tell me, even if I agree, I will 100% forget about what book we've been talking about. Right. But if they fill out the form, then it adds it to my list, and I use that to use purchasing, like make purchasing decisions.
That's awesome. And Emery, that I love the fact that you have these QR codes in classes. So even if you are physically not, if they're not physically in your library, they are digitally in your library, right?
Totally. So they can
Right.
get to it through classes, they can get to the catalog, and then right next to the one in classes, it has the book purchase request, so that if we don't have it, they can rate then
Oh, so smart.
just like put in a
Request. Oh, that's awesome. So does anybody have another interactive tool they use besides QR codes? Anybody use Wakelet? Okay, so one of the things, and I can try to share this in one of our next groups together. One of the things that we use Adobe Spark a lot, or the Adobe Suite. And so some of our higher level classes are asking us not just to do essays, but to actually encourage kids to be multimodal. So encourage them to make movies, podcasts, and this is to go to the University of Washington. So we're trying to honor that. If we're offering that for our kids that are so high achieving, why would we not integrate that into our kids, especially as an equity tool, so that all of our kids have entry points? So we've been like, how do we get kids to do book trailers and podcasts and those kinds of things? So one of the things we use is Adobe, and Seattle School District has that as a tool that they've paid for, so all kids have it. And then what we do is from there, when they're doing these things, we teach them copyright rules and laws, because we have free sites for sound, free sites for images, and we embed that in Wakelet. And so the kids go there, students go there, and then they're like, oh, I want to add this to my book tour, Ms. Chambers. I'm like, great, you can't. It's gonna get torn down. Ha! Okay, here's why. And so then we just use Wakelet to show all the sites they can get those free tools. So it's been a really, really proactive way to teach kids, and they're enjoying it. I never get complaints from that. Make sure I hit the chat. Ooh, Melissa. Ooh, say more about this project-based learning.
I was like, yeah, I could share that too, I guess. I'm still at the elementary school, the 5th grade, but the middle school that it feeds into, they're all doing project-based learning. And I met with a librarian there, and she said that it's really cool to be able to collaborate with all of the teachers and kind of provide all of those tools. But she said the exact same thing that you said, where like they are trying to allow students to show what they know in different ways other than the traditional 5-paragraph essay or like some of those things. And so it was really cool. Like she was talking about how she was collaborating with like the morning announcement folks, like what are they called, like the Viscom, like
Yep.
they
For us,
have
it's ASB.
Mustang News,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like,
Yes.
so the audio visual like morning announcement news things, and that they're incorporating a lot of those tools. Like our district is using Adobe Spark and teaching kids how to use it to be able to create projects and stuff. And so yeah, it was really interesting to see how like she's collaborating with the Viscom folks and trying to help like connect all those pieces.
That's awesome. And I can't wait to pick your brain about project-based learning. We don't do that here at our school, but I know that so many people do. I'm on this right now, folks. In terms of introducing digital tools in a dreamy dream world, you would get staff time, like staff meeting time. Okay. So it's my 6th year here at Ballard, and I just now started getting 5 minutes of staff time. So I want to say that's like it took me 6 years, right? So obviously I go to PLCs, I go to grade bands, I go, departments. I try to, and they're like, But the most recent one we have is tutor.com. So we are linked with Seattle Public Libraries, and you can turn in papers, turn in math homework, get tutoring support from 2 to 10 p.m. every day of the week. And so I shared that with my whole staff. And I will tell you, it's like house on fire here. I got science teachers doing it. I got math teachers doing it. I don't know. It's all things to all people. So it was amazing, because I feel like now that I've made that connection, I'm more likely to get more staff time. So the more you can show these tools used in intentional ways, right? Ooh, I'm gonna show you right now. There is a digital tools best of every year. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the American Association of School Libraries every year does like a kind of a showdown, and so if you look here, this is the AASL site. And so these are the best digital tools. Melissa, can you see what I'm scrolling through? Okay. And so what I do is I just, as a little like check-see for myself, every year I go through and I'm like, oh, do I know what Sheg is? You're actually going to hear more about it when we have a speaker later to do digital literacy specifically around misinformation. Okay. Have I used Classroom Screen? I have. Could I use it again? Probably. I go through and see if any of these relate to things I already am doing, and or, oh, like storytelling app. Is that going to work for high school kids? Maybe, maybe not. It may be better at younger, like Book Creator. But also, is this something I could introduce to Miss Coach, my LA teacher, and then get her on about it, and then have kids use it with students? So I've used Noodle tools, right? I'm always looking to see, are these tools that I could use myself? If you are not familiar with Slides Mania, y'all, jump on Slides Mania. Can you in the chat, or just a little show of hands, who's used Slides Mania before? Oh, well, I'm gonna change your life right now. Okay, all right. I really should have used Slides Mania for this presentation, but okay. Slides Mania, y'all, is literally this amazing human being puts together like Google Slides or PowerPoints for you, and you can use them as templates, and they're gorgeous. Okay, like I'm talking like I do all my presentations all over using them. So let me stop sharing this for a second and get into Slides Mania. So the next time you have students who need to put together a PowerPoint, and you have to decide there's two schools of thought, completely blank, only the information, right? There's been studies around that being powerful, and that you just read the info like white and words. Or you want it to be interactive and gorgeous. So interactive and gorgeous could be Slides Mania. So it's one of the tools that I would recommend using. And I'll see if I can get to it. Nope, not letting me. Yep.
Can you tell me where this list is again?
Yep. Okay, so if we go, thank
Great.
you. Appreciate you. So here's the deal. I'm going to go to, if you go to my Schoology, my Sakai site, tell you Schoology, and then you go to presentation, it's going to be there. And then what happens is on the third slide at the bottom, there's a section that says AASL, and I'm trying to get there now, but it's not letting me.
I don't see anything for this week.
Oh, okay. Let me see what we can do here. Okay, can you see my course right now?
Yeah.
Do you see Module 1 Technology?
No.
No.
I think where it is italicized, it's not been published.
Ooh, thank you. Well, that's hard to learn from then, isn't it? Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. Settings. Seems like it would be published. Nope. How about this? Better?
I like how it said hide it. Hide this from your students.
I know, because
Keep it hidden.
we've all been there, right? Okay. So if you go down, Amelia, you can find it. Awesome. Okay. So under presentation right here, that's where I'm teaching from right now. It's in this module, and this is, I just embedded it right here. So if you click on this, it will pop up. And I consistently do this every year, y'all. So I just, and then for Slides Mania, I cannot tell you how much I love this person. And they do this for free. And I sometimes send them money because I use them so often. And so literally I'll go to all templates and I'll say, oh, what's this interactive template? And then they try to sell me stuff and I say, no, thank you. And then I just have all these options. And you can use any of these for your presentations. It's okay. So it's almost too much sometimes because I'm like, I don't know how to use all these. But there's so many, and it gives you an opportunity to not have to spend hours figuring out how to color those, put those little graphic designs on, which I just don't have time for. Maybe, Emery, that's your spirit. let that be the case, but it's not mine. So, all right. So let's kick it back. Want to keep it rocking. How has your social media been going? How we doing, folks? Okay, give me a little eh. Oh, Melissa's all in. All right. Anne-Marie, I can't tell because you're kind of doing a side, kind of a maybe. Okay, Amelia.
Sorry,
Maybe.
I was trying to unmute. I definitely signed up, but then I was looking at people to follow, and on everybody's introduction, when I looked a couple days ago, I didn't see anybody have their handles on it, and so I couldn't follow anybody.
Well, I will say
So I
this.
signed up, but it's like I haven't done anything with it. I'm just trying to figure out how to turn off the notifications right now.
Fair. Okay, so first off, as much as I want you to follow each other, if you don't have anything on there, I'm not sure there's going to be the hottest peeps in town to look at, right? Right. So, and quite frankly, it's nerve-wracking when you first start because you don't know what to put on there. So just like we would with kids, right, with students, I'll say right now, the best thing you can do is just learn from others, really and truly. So I put this here. I also put it in the announcements, social media leaders to follow. Okay. So I'm going to click there now. This is a list of people I follow, and I can tell you some reasons why. Casey Boyd was the National Librarian of the Year this past year. Casey Boyd is also a Black woman, and she's a librarian in DC. She's doing insane work for advocacy. She, I think, is keynoting. Well, everything I turn around, she's keynoting. During COVID, she taught me how to use Instagram. Just so you all know, like where you are right now, I was there during COVID. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, Casey. And she just helped me through it. So this is her Twitter and Instagram account. These are some people that other courses are following because they're either really strong with disability, visibility, LGBTQ, Indigenous, or people of color. And so in on this, you'll see people that may or may not be public. So you have to follow them and they may or may not follow you. I say this is so important because some people, depending on their lived experiences, are being attacked on social media for who they are. Right. So part of the reason I have us following them is for some of us, we don't have that experience and never will. But for a lot of these librarians, and I want to call out right now Amanda Jones, this woman right here, went to a public library meeting in her hometown and spoke as a constituent of that town and library patron, and now is being has death threats because she stood up for LGBTQ students and their rights to have representation in the public library. So when I say people are living the real lives out there, I mean, so for some of us, if all we're doing is lurking and some of these people are living this experience, I think it's really important to know what's happening. Also, I think it's important to know that your kids are being sold to when they go on these sites, and there's algorithms that are happening, and it might be happening to you right now, right? Like right before I came on here, I had a super spicy little post from someone, and I was like, oh no, I can't have that when I'm teaching class, right? So I was like, unfollow. So I was like, but this is maybe I should have kept it up so I could have shown you, but like this is real. So as we're going along, Kristen Sierra, y'all, she's in Tacoma, Washington. She's Latina, and she does a ton of work with Project Lit. So if you are not familiar with Kristen Sierra, she also works in a Title I high school. And so she does things that she got Jason Reynolds, right? I think she's hung out with him twice at her school. Like that's who she is. Like, so if you are not familiar, I did put some people like Donalyn Miller. She does some elementary work, but she's a classroom book a day. So if you're not familiar with that, other people, Debbie Reese does a lot of work with Indigenous, and she actually identifies as American Indian. Kelsey Bogan is at a high school. These are some local people. Rebecca Weinkoop recently went from middle to elementary. So if you're looking at like 4th, 5th grade, you might want to roll up on her. You have people here who are past AASL presidents. So Christine is a past AASL president. That list that we just saw, she used to run that as president. Always Library of Congress. So if you're not familiar with Carla Hayden, First Black woman, first woman to be the librarian, our national librarian. Hot stuff there. So a lot of these people, y'all. Oh, and this Molly Meck, she's actually not a librarian. I try to keep as many as librarians as possible, but she actually runs a Twitter and Instagram account for her classroom, and she teaches first graders. Okay, all right. I know. We'll jump on there in a second. So what she does is so cool because she asks the kids to run it. So it's one of their jobs. And I don't know why you couldn't do this in high school, to be honest. I probably should. And she has and every day they have, different jobs, right? And they come up and she's like, okay, what do you think is worth talking about today for your learning? And then they tell her, and if they can, they type it in. And if they can't, she types it. And it's not always what she would pick as the highlight. Right. And then they just share what it means to have consent. Like, how do you take pictures? Only back of heads and hands. They talk about how do you follow experts. So anyway, any questions
Who was
about
that? Which person was that?
That's Molly Meck. So see where it says Miss Meck's class? She's a great one to just be like, how is she doing this? Right? How does that look? So she has parents follow her, and it is fire. Like, she's like a whole unit on birds, and all these famous bird people come and speak to her class because they tweet at them. Right. And so it's hard to turn down a first grader, right? And so they have experts, and they talk about what it means to be an expert online. And then they talk about social media, how to not ruin your career at 14, right? Or 6 or whatever, right? Like, this is for life. Like, so what does it mean to have a digital footprint? So questions for me about this list. I put a couple on here that are some of my peeps from and Lori Lieberman, y'all, she's in Portland. I love her. I like to just follow her around for days and days. Any questions for me about some of these people? I'm gonna go to the chat. I haven't been following it. Oh, good. Thanks, Melissa. Melissa put her handle in the chat.
I was just thinking about digital footprint as you'd said that. There are so many kids whose parents have created a digital footprint for them. And that is something I keep thinking about, is like, my own teenager does not have a Facebook account and he doesn't post any photos of himself, but there are hundreds of photos of him as a baby on Facebook. And so it's like an interesting conversation.
Well, and then that's the conversation you have, right? So when I go in the library and I talk to kids, I always say, can I take your picture? And then if they say no, I say, okay, good. I believe in consent. Right. So, and then just demystifying the word consent, like, consent just doesn't mean sex. Like, this has multiple meanings. And the more we can demystify that, I think the better. And then some kids, of course, are like posy pants, right? Like, right. But, and then we always have a list of which kids we're not allowed to take pictures of, and we honor that. But just, and then having conversations about, like, have you Googled yourself? Right. And we've all done that as adults. Have kids done it? And do that, and because there's a reason we ask the kids not wear their t-shirt, like their soccer jerseys with their shirts with their names on them, like, for real safe purposes. We don't want that out there. Why? And then having those, not to scare them, but kind of like, this is a very real sight. And if we as adults did not grow up with this or learn how to we're learning literally as we're going, how can we possibly teach kids? Right? Questions for me? No. Okay. I'm gonna try. Oh, this is what I was gonna try to do. This is my Instagram account. I did not go nuts this week. Normally I'd be like, pop, 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 pop. I purposely did not want to freak you out. Okay, so how I do it, as I literally just take pictures during the day, just like ting, 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 ting. And then I just update it. And then when I do my monthly library newsletter with my principal, I use this as evidence also on my evaluation. So it's, I had a principal who shall remain unnamed, who said to me once, did all these things really happen? And I was like, well, in this picture, you're next to me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is real talk, right? Okay, so that conversation ceased. Okay, hi. So this is Casey Boyd. I also really like Erica Long. Casey Boyd is the one that leads the Clubhouse discussion on Sundays at 4. I was just scrolling through her stuff, y'all. This is what I do. Like, this is a typical way I follow people. I'll just kind of go through. I'm like, okay, I don't need that stuff. Fair contract. They're fighting to make sure that everybody's they have librarians in every school. We don't in Washington. So I'm watching her. I don't need that stuff. Fair contract. Fair contract. I agree. Right on, Casey. I'll sign whatever you need. Okay. So I like this. So she did this here. This woman says, anyone have any ideas where I can source a mini lesson so that for middle and high school to develop their ability to use inferencing skills to read between the lines. So by her boosting that, right, she's like, hey, library Twitter, can you help this person? And then in response, this Lauren woman, seemingly a person of color, presents as such. Have you ever done the check story lesson? Right? And she said, I'm not familiar, but you willing to share? And then she says, yes, check your GMs. And I'm going to write, also interested. Ooh, but maybe spell interested correctly. Okay, also interested. Would love to see it. Love to see it as well. Okay, and I'm just going to reply. Now, whether or not she chooses to share that with me is totally up to her. But when she offers something like that without her doing emotional labor, right? I now can actually learn from her. And if anytime I can learn from my colleagues of color, and I'm going to be frank, in Seattle, there are very few librarians of color, but we have a large population of students of color. So that doesn't equate, right? So, and if I want to have my students represented, if I want more librarians to represent my students and them to choose this as a career choice, I need to learn from others. So I also went down here and I was like, what is this? And I'm not going to lie, fire. She uses TikTok and she just she does this thing with bookmarks. And I do not have it. I do have a TikTok account, but it's not. Can you hear this? All right, y'all. What did that do in terms of like, how could you see using that in your own library?
I know that like when I taught first grade during the shutdown and during remote teaching, and we sent kids like laminated pictures of us or emojis or whatever. And I can't help but think about how many of my students, like when they go home, like might see one of their favorite teachers just in their book, like be a nice reminder. But also the showing kids what we're reading, like I think that's a really rad thing too. So like being able to show and personalize, like showing that you're able to share it yourself, I don't know, it creates an emotional connection with the kids.
Totally. And I want to say this works with high school. Emery, could you see your kids at high school?
Oh, absolutely. No, I totally love this idea. I have I bought a ton of bookmarks that I like designed and like, I don't know, linked to different things last year, but we're starting to run low. And I'm like, oh, this is a fun new project. I could totally do this.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to say I still have some questions. I'm like, oh, does that person's QR code then go to your catalog? Then do you have like a collection with Mr. or Miss whatever's favorite? You know what I mean? Like, how'd you get everyone's pictures? Did you get those off the year? I mean, I have some questions about like the lead up to this, but in general, like this is awesome. Like this is a great tool to get kids into get books reading, know what teachers are reading, get teachers even be like, hey, do you want to hand them out to your kids? Right? Like, and I found this within, I would say, about 30 seconds of checking her site. There is gold out there, folks. You do not have to recreate the wheel, right? She might even have a template. I'm tempted to email her and be like, hey, Casey, right? You got a template? If there's anything I can give you, right? Like, I mean, back and forth. So I go to Casey's clubhouse. So at the next clubhouse, I could be like, Casey, I saw that. That was fire. Is there anything you need from me? So the last clubhouse, I shared about some of my my makerspace activities. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. She lives in DC, right? Like I live in Seattle, but I'm learning from her. And so sometimes we're in echo chambers. Not sometimes, we are, let's be real, right? Like you are like, no, I have great people I talk to. I'm sure you do, but y'all probably say about the same things, right? I mean, we do. So the more we can put ourselves out there and learn from others, I think it's really powerful. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Anybody have questions for me about either of Twitter or Instagram? I want to make sure. I know someone said their notifications were going off like nuts.
I think that was me. I'm like losing my mind, but yeah, I feel like I've like turned off my notifications and I'm still getting them. And so Twitter is kind of making me a little bit crazy, but that's just me figuring out my phone, I think. So.
Well, let me say this. And to your point, Amory, I get no notifications. Zero. I don't, right? I don't get, and some people are in different situations in their schools and the leadership responsibilities they have. Kids maybe text you or whatever not text you, but email you that you have to answer immediately. I mean, I don't know, but I get no notifications for school. I get no notifications for Twitter. I get no notifications. So I set that up on my phone that way. And then I talk to students about it. I'm like, how distracted are you right now when you're like, beep, 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 right? So no, I set aside specific time to do this, usually in the bathroom. So, right, like real talk, like I'm not spending extra time in ways that I don't find valuable. So teaching ourselves how to do that as well. And I'm not picking on you, Emery, because we've all been there, right? Yeah. But and then using that as a teaching tool, like, look, I'm in all these things, y'all. But do you think I'm all day long? I wonder what so and so. I'm not. I can't be. I have too much to do, and I don't want to let this take over this in real life stuff. But this is a tool, and we just saw how Casey used it. To not notice that would be a loss on my part. I'd be missing out. Questions for me? Dr. Holly, you wrote me a really nice email about some professional organizations you're following. Could you share some of those with the group? I think you're still muted.
Unmute myself.
Oh,
Okay, just one sec. And I will tell you, they were new for me, so okay. Yeah, I just ran into some real challenges with Twitter, so I started thinking, maybe we can compromise here and find something else. So I went onto Facebook, and basically I just searched, school librarians, school libraries, library, and where am I here? And what came up was just off my okay, here it comes. Just initially what came was library media specialist, technology integration specialist, a school library media specialist. There's an actual group that you can join for that. School library journal is on there. And then there was another one, just school library media specialist, which was another group. And these groups have like over 7,000 people in them. So it's not like it's just a tiny little thing. I went through them a little bit. What was really big on it right now is all the stuff about book banning. A lot of stuff on that. I haven't spent a lot of time yet, but I'm sure there's others on there too. And the idea came to me is that I think probably many of these people that are on your list, that are on Twitter or Instagram, probably also have a Facebook page too. So there's multiple ways, I think, to access some of this. And I just understand Facebook. So it's like, let me use a medium that I already, I don't do a lot of this, so I get really easily overwhelmed. And it's just like, even listening to you when you're going, ooh, and then there's, ooh, and it's like, my brain is going like a pinball machine that goes on, kind
Well,
of on.
and Dr.
tilts,
Holly, what's nice about what you just shared, one, I did not mean to put you on the spot. You did a great
That's
job
okay.
of finding your stuff quick, because we've all been there, like, right? We've all been there. So, but here's what I will say. You're going to have staff members who run the gamut, right? Right. You're going to have staff members like early adopters who are like, let's go. I saw this thing on TikTok. Chambers, what's happening? Right. And then you're going to have people who don't have phones. So you got to be like, okay, so, but right now, if it relies only on a librarian to do digital literacy, we got a problem, folks. I mean, we know we do right now. So the more we can have this integrated and threaded through lessons where they're actually teaching like verifying sources and looking at different ways you laterally read, and then looking for authority with voice, right? The more you can do that across different platforms, and the more you model that, the better you will be at saying to people, I need you to do this as well, and them agreeing, right? So I will say this, different groups tend to go to different platforms, right? We know that kids are on TikTok. We may or may not be on TikTok. I am ish, but I'm not, you don't see me here showing off my moves for a reason, right? So you want to think about like, where's the best place for you to get information? How is it helping transform your practice? Right? Is it working? And if it's not working, it may not be the best place. I say this because I am one of the future ready librarians that's on Facebook. And sometimes I go to future ready librarians and it's a dumpster fire. It just is, folks. I don't need to fight with you about whether or not, Cat in the Hat is racist for 20 million years. I don't. Okay. Some of these things are fights they have every year. And I'm like, okay. So it's a waste of my time. But I don't want to waste my time. Right? I want to be intentional with my tech use. So that's where I'm going to go back to my little screeny here, share some of my stuff. I want to make sure that I share things that actually you find valuable. So one of the leaders that I mentioned is Jennifer Lagarde. I think, Melissa, you lucky duck. You work with her a lot. She lives in Olympia.
Get to see her tomorrow.
Oh, please give her my best. Oh, so jelly. Okay.
I'll post and I'll tag you.
Oh,
Will
please.
you-
Oh, do. Love it.
Melissa, tell her hi from me too.
Oh, look at
I
Amory and I are
also love it.
fangirling. Right? Okay.
I
okay.
will, Emery.
Folks, she is one of those people that she can make, like, she will sit across from some of my librarians who are like crusty birds, right? They've been there, they've done the things. And then by the time she's done presenting, they're doing everything she says. She has this way about her. She has blogs, she has books, she has presentations. She's in Olympia. She's going to be presenting this Saturday as a keynote. If you get a chance to see her ever, inspiring. And her personal story with libraries is so inspiring. So she's one that I really recommend, both because she does a lot of work around digital literacy and misinformation. And she does work, like she's the one who convinced my library assistant to genreify my library. Right? She's just has this ability to make everything that seems overwhelming not be. So highly, highly recommend her. I'm going to take the next moment. Amory, you in the past did share at the last meeting that you might be willing to do a mindful moment. I did not remind you of that mindful moment. Would you be interested, or would you rather push that to next week?
Nope, I could totally do that right now, but we're
Great.
just going to see if, here, I'm going to find it right now. Oh, I wonder. Actually, I can't get to it right now because I have to wait for him to give a little. No, I can't do it right now. I will do it next week.
Wait with bated breath, folks. Next week's going to be fire. but maybe that's not the mindful self-care moment you need. Okay, so we're going to take the next minute. This is a beach that I sometimes sit on when I'm feeling stressed out. Please think of your own personal beach or place that you go in your mind to be less stressed. I'll be timing us for a moment. Okay, folks, that's been a minute. I know that the previous instructor that taught this class used this as a tool for students who finish their work quickly. She had them regulate by just breathing and taking a relax on the, and she literally called it relax on the beach moment. Does anybody have other self-care or mindful moment strategies they use when they teach tech or use in their library or even in their classrooms? Real talk.
I usually I'll sometimes have like a motion leader, have a
Ooh,
student lead us through some stretches and a mindfulness moment.
nice.
I have
Andrea,
students do that. Yes.
I could use you because I am so I am guilty of being like, oh, if you have that done, go to the next thing, go to the next thing, go to the next thing. And I'm starting to value these little relaxations on the beach. So as our kids are more stressed and we're more stressed, and y'all very often you'll be teaching your staff how to do this, right? Like, and just like Dr. Holly was saying so eloquently that, the pinball in the head, like then when we've lost them, right? Then gone. So then how do we embed these so they feel valuable, right? Um, and sometimes kids are, and it's not quite the same thing, but sometimes kids are just, and I'll be like, if you can hear my voice, take a breath. If you can, and then and of course they're, I'm like, that's not what I meant. Okay. And then I'm like, if you can hear my voice, take a breath. I mean, I just keep doing it until it gets to the point where we're all just breathing. So I've utilized that, and I learned it from a woman on Twitter, a woman of color, and I wish I could cite her. But she said it works, and she's right. And so if you could be thinking about this next week, how you could be utilizing this mindful moments, self-care moments, please share because I'd love to learn them. Right now, I'd love for us to get a little bit into a little bit about ourselves. So if you could in the chat put your social media handles so we can follow each other. I'm not expecting you to be posting things unless you're fired up. Melissa, thank you if you are. Yay. What is your digital library and superpower? What's your mentorship library? For many of us, it'll be our own. And then what subject area are you thinking about for your final research project? And then when we are done doing that, we will take unless people just show of hands, how many people would like a break right now? Can't, okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna stay here, do this, and then take a break. Okay. Melissa, do you mind starting?
Not at all. I was going to say, you don't want me to do it in the chat, right? You want me to just
I
like
just want the
explain.
handles in the chat, but I'd love to hear the other
Oh,
stuff.
perfect. I
Yeah.
started Mrs. Melissa Walker like a long time ago, and I started with a private account where I showed parents like what we were working on, and I tried to highlight like 2 kids per week so that every kid was shown, but like it came with a whole thing where parents had to sign off and whatnot. And so when I moved to 5th grade, I was like, all right, we're gonna just model. Part of this came out of a neighborhood Facebook group argument where in my neighborhood, I teach in the same area where I live, and it's a subdivision that's like pre-planned, and people get all up in arms. But a parent just went off and talked such trash they all about teachers at the school, and then they also like made a threat against this teacher, and I had to report it. And it was like, if one of because my thought was like, if one of my 5th graders did this, they would be in so much trouble. Like, we
Right.
can't allow a kindergarten parent to do this either. So I was like, I want to just model for people. And so if you look on my thing, it's like teacher outfits. Like, this is my cute outfit for today. This is what I looked like as a very young teacher. And so, yeah, my digital librarian superpower, I think, is finding the funny memes and the funny TikToks. Um,
That's awesome.
I like to find the humor in all of that. Um, the mentorship library, I went to the feeder school that our school feeds into, which is really fun because it's where the principal that was formerly at our school is now at that school. So we have like similar values, similar like goals and stuff. And I really enjoyed helping, like just chatting this teacher up. And it was fun because they saw my students from last year, or they see my current, like, so
Yeah.
that was really fun.
That's awesome.
And I have not even given any thought to the final research project. So I'm sorry about
No,
that.
I'm impressed you've reached out to a school. That's great.
Yeah, it was really fun to be able
That's
to
so
chat
good.
with them.
That's good. And then when you eventually want to be a librarian and want a job, they'll think of you. Yes. Amelia, can you tell us a little bit?
Yes, hi. I'll put my social media handle in the chat. It's called Love the Library, which I came up with when I was working only 9 hours a week and trying to do like behavior in the library. With these little kids, I came up with this hand motion of we look and we listen to love the library and open the book. And so it's my like pre-K, K, and a little bit of 2nd grade, but we do that almost every day before the library. And so then when it was time for me to go to 15 hours a week, I made a website and called it Love the Library. And so I feel like I'm just going to keep going. I don't know if my principal is going to let me like actually use this as a school thing, but we'll see.
What a great conversation. And I'm totally going to try this with my high school students.
I wouldn't.
I don't know.
It kind of peters out by the end of 2nd grade. They're kind of done.
Well, I'm going to say you are really good at branding. So you just kept that rolling. That is excellent.
So we'll see. I don't feel like I have a digital librarian superpower right now. And I'm hoping that by the end of this class, I will have a couple.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
My real superpower is being able to really help kids find the right book. Like, I mean, I am like kids that come and say to me, I hate reading. I'm like, no, we are going to find you a book. And
that's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
My mentorship library is my own. But I also love, my daughter's a junior in high school and her library is amazing. And so I have talked with that librarian before, and if I need to reach out to her, I know that I could. And I meet with the other librarians in my little
cohort
school. So yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm kind of thinking about for the field project, working with the middle school teachers, because the 8th graders do a capstone project. So they all have a different subject area, but they're all doing they all have to do research and they all have to, so I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of what I'm thinking about right now.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Dr. Holly, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. I guess my Instagram is Jason Lee Library 2222. I think that's isn't a handle. I don't know. And Facebook is just under my name. But anyway, my digital library superpower. I'm still in such a learning phase, but one of the things that I do that my kids just really, really love is that when I'm get really excited about and really enjoy doing is that when I'm closing off a unit or I want to, I create Kahoot games to assess what we learned in those units. And basically, there isn't a grade level that I work with. I haven't done it yet down at K, but different times of the year between first and fifth, there isn't a grade level I work with that. I mean, I have some kids that come every week to the library that say, "Are we doing Kahoot today?" And it's just like,
Yep.
no, we're not. But so whatever I do know, I have completely self-taught myself just by going on to the sites and doing directions and stuff. But I know they really enjoy that. And one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm going to have, on the sites that I do work with them on, have them create closing pieces, and so have, like, for example, the kids that love to do Kahoot, have them create a 10 question, end of unit, game, that we can actually then play in class so they can actually see their creation and have the kids integrate, so I don't know, it's a superpower. I just know that the kids really love it. My own library, I am my own mentorship, my own library. And I don't connect too much with secondary. I don't connect with secondary librarians at all. I do connect with other K-5 librarians. In fact, last year, I'm trying to think what it is in Oregon. The Oregon Library Association or whatever, they have an actual free mentor program that you can join. And if there's somebody in your district that has signed up to be a mentor, they will then, you can sign up to be a mentee, and then they will put you with them, and it's a year-long thing. So last year I had a K-5 librarian who'd been one for 11 years in the district who mentored me. And as far as the final research project, I looked at it a little bit. I think I was really tired. I didn't really understand it, so I don't really have anything to offer in that piece. But it was really tired. One of the things I'm finding as a 50% librarian, it gets easily overwhelming. And the other experience that I'm having with my kids is that a lot of them do a lot of digital work in their classrooms. And so the connecting into the books in the library and giving them opportunities to check out books and read, it's really important to them. And some of those kids, in fact, some of the classrooms they come from, they're digitally engaged almost all day long in their classroom. So to duplicate that once again in the library, I think it's really important to give them opportunities to just read, and not necessarily digitally, to actually open a hardcover book and, read a story. And I have found those times when I ran out of time in class, I've had kids go into tears because there wasn't time for them to check out books. So,
Dr. Holly, same in high school.
So
So-
anyway,
So Dr. Holly, I want to make sure I didn't miss it. Did you already tell me the final research field project, or are you still working on that idea?
no, I'm still trying to understand it.
Okay.
So I did want to say just one real quick thing. I don't know if it's a systematic thing or whatever, but it's interesting because in Sakai, for the October 11th Mod 1. It said it appeared, it was released on 10/4 at 2 p.m. I was on Sakai on my, Sakai account yesterday evening, and it was not there. And it appeared today. So I'm not sure why that was, but it did not come. It was well over a week before it appeared in my account. I mean, there was nothing in there except the introductory class until all the way through yesterday evening, because I kept checking.
I think that was the thing, that it was hidden, and Tuesday kind of like figured that out. And it was,
Okay.
it'll be in it
Yes.
somewhere. I don't think any of us saw it until that was just a
Oh.
little.
Okay. All righty, that's it. I don't want to spend any more time.
Thank
Somebody
you,
else.
Dr. Holly.
Yeah.
Amory, do you want to, before you jet? Great.
Yeah. So I'm Amory. I put my handles in the chat. My digital librarian superpower is probably to curate weird and wonderful, like little tidbits, whether it's like on TikTok or on, I don't know, like subreddits or something like that. But I connect with students based on just like weird videos that like random things come up. So today I was talking to this kid, and he's taking a child development course, and he was looking for Fox and Socks, which we don't have. So I was like printing out like a cover image for him. And while I was doing that, I told him he's this like very, very white dude, but he raps Dr. Seuss books, and it is amazing. And so while he was waiting for me to like print out his thing, I definitely was playing a video for him on this like guy rapping Fox and Socks, and it was hilarious.
Awesome.
So I do weird stuff like that and connect with kids that way. My mentorship library is my library. I connect with the other high school librarians in my district fairly frequent. I mean, I like definitely can reach out to people whenever we have questions. We always like reach out, and then we're getting this Friday for like 3 hours because we have a PD day. So we have a meeting. They're going to come over. Debbie specifically is going to help me take next steps in my genrefying, which I am working on right now. So that's really exciting. But yeah, so they're kind of mentors. We're all just like working together, and we help each other out. Potential subject area to pursue my final research field project. I have a woman that I work with. Her name is Hillary, and she teaches science. She teaches an IB class that is environmental systems and societies. And then she also teaches a couple of different biology classes. And so we have talked even before this class about wanting to collaborate. I've done history does a big research project. Full IB candidates do a big extended essay. So they are doing research, but I haven't worked with science at all. And so we've talked, she's super excited. I'm super excited. So we're going to do that. And before I jump off, I just want to say that it was making me giggle that yesterday, so we have a new health teacher at my school, and she's an interesting woman, and sometimes we're like communicating and I'm like, I don't know if we're really talking about the same thing. Like I can't figure out our conversations occasionally. But she approached me and she would like to bring in a class, and I'm going to do like a little research lesson with them. So she already came in. I'm not going to use this as my final field research project because of the miscommunication. I was asking her what she wanted to do for a research project. And she's like, well, maybe I'll just have them look up careers in the health thing. And I was like, so that's not really like a database question then, because there's not going to be anything in databases about what careers you can go into. And she's like, okay. And I was like, well, what do you want the kids to get out of this? And she was like, well, she's like, they don't understand spreadsheets. I want them to do spreadsheets. And I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, well, maybe they could do like, I don't think she has a teaching license. I think she has a PhD, maybe she has her doctorate, but she was like, well, when I did my literature review, we did it in a spreadsheet. And I was like, I don't understand this conversation right now. Like there were like so many things that were very strange about it. So I'm going to take in research to her class, and I think I'm just going to do my own thing without, I think she'll be fine with me just doing what I want to do. And that's what I'm going to do. But for the project, I'm going to work with Hillary with biology.
Awesome. Andrea, I think you are last.
Sure. My name is Andrea. My social media handle is Ackner Loves Books. Don't have a digital librarian superpower. This is my first course in the program. I wanted to kind of pursue the certification because I love books and libraries. So I don't really feel like I have any wisdom to offer when it comes to digital libraries. My mentorship library is going to be at my school. I have a pretty good relationship with the librarian at my school at Evergreen High School. And I'm thinking of a potential project, some kind of research project. I teach AP Human Geography, so I would love my librarian to come in and maybe do some lateral reading skills with my students to evaluate sources and some close readings of text, something like that. But I haven't really thought about it fully yet.
Awesome.
That's where I'm at.
I think all of us are kind of in the same spot. Folks, I want to make sure I give you a break. So please come back at 41 after. Oh, sorry. No, I'm sorry. My bad. That isn't enough of a break. 4:44 after. And we'll kind of chat about what the rest of the week looks like for us. Okay. See you at 5:44. Okay, folks, I am going to start up again, sharing a little bit. I know people are kind of still coming back. So, so one of the things that we're going to eventually talk about, and this will kind of be threaded through everything we're doing, is how efficient are we with our technology and time, right? I spend hours, we've all been stuck there. I'm speedy and really good at it. We're all in a different place with it. And I think it depends on the tool, it depends on the moment, but we're going to work toward finding ways to be more efficient. And so how do we do that? And one of the optional assignments is to listen to a podcast with Monica Burns around technology and being thoughtful with our time. So what we're going to continue doing, and we've started a little bit today, is determining when technology is the right tool to support learning. Dr. Holly gave a great example of when it's not, when it's time to just open up a book and read it. Right there with you, Dr. Holly. But then how do we make the work you're doing with the reading the books thread into the work they're doing digitally in classrooms, right? Because we want that connection for kids. And just collaborating with your teachers and embedding those skills. So I just full disclosure, my phone was blowing up while we were like on break, and I was like, what is going on? So it's one of my teachers, Sean Lee, and he's like, Tizzy, I need a Schoology page tomorrow. So imagine building a Sakai page for tomorrow. Okay. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen, buddy. And so I was like, well, these are the things we can do. And he's in the office with the principal right now. And they're like, are you in the building? Can we come out? And I'm like, no, I'm teaching. Okay. So, but I say this because they felt confident that I was someone that could assist, and I did. But that is what you want as your role. Maybe not that kind of frantic, but that's what you want as your role in the building. We are no longer saying like, I don't do tech, or how do you feel about technology? It's not one more thing. It is the thing we do, right? It becomes part of just our work. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get us out of here. And I'm going to scroll us down just a little bit to this, and just showing off some of the things we use for tech. One of the things I want to share, you have some options this week. This in-service training is this Friday. It is free. And if you cannot attend it, if you register, they will send you recordings of some of what was shared. So Jennifer Lagarde, we talked about earlier. This is Cicely Lewis. This is Shannon McClintock. I think it's Shannon McClintock Miller. And this is Julia Torres. So as you can see, a couple of those librarians are of color. They're going to be sharing their knowledge. And so I'm making this an opportunity for you to attend. And if you can't physically attend virtually like this, you can get the recordings. Another option, if that doesn't work for you, this is not free, but y'all, this is awesome. You have a school librarian conference. Is anybody attending this right now? Okay, Oregon, check it out. You have this Saturday in Bend, you have a conference that you could attend if you wanted to. Some of you were like, that's nice, Susie, a little short notice though. Fair enough, fair enough. But it's good to know because I was looking at, I was like, oh, what's this all about? You got some hot bits of business presenting. So if you haven't checked it out, the site has some really good people. So these are their social media accounts, OASL. And they have some of the people, I don't know if you can see it yet or not. Some of the people presenting are like Lori Lieberman. And so by all means, if you can, please attend. And if you cannot attend, a free option is also available. If you go into this week's work, Amelia, can you see what I'm looking at? Module 1? Okay, great. There is a chapter to read. It's 32 pages. It's right here. We're going to start the next class, just checking in how you're doing, talking about any great learnings we've learned from that article. Again, I didn't assign any purchased textbooks because I felt like that some of what we wanted to learn was like on the fly, some of this digital work. This training right here, you can click on that and register, or you can attend this conference. And if you're like, Susie, I am fired up, which I'm truly trying to give people opportunities in different ways. This is a podcast, which is an optional text about being efficient with technology and time. If you would like to purchase the text that was optional, this is the chapter we would be reading from is technology leadership. So assignment wise, let's scroll on down. In just a moment, you're going to have the 1-minute paper. So if you have not done your 1-minute paper from last week, please do. I just want to hear what new learnings you learned this week. This is the detailed explanation of joining your state organization. So the previous professor of this class had this as a requirement, and I fully support her choices. I am part of the Washington Library Association. It is $20 if you are in Washington. It is $21 if you're in Oregon. If you would like to join this and the ALA, it's $44. So what we are looking for is how will you participate with your state organization? I'll open this. What division did you join and why? What are you hoping to do? And then write 2 to 3 sentences about your experience. So I want to hear from you by this weekend, like what you're thinking about. If you need extended time, no problem, because you may need to like reach out to people and hear back and forth. But this is the assignment. We want you to do something by December 4th related to your state organization. Now, if you're in Washington State, you could attend the current one this weekend, reach out to them, can I do anything? And that could count as part of your participation online. If I go in here, back to module 1, and look, these are the ways you can participate. So if you're in Washington State, these are the divisions. These are some of the committees. I'm on the marketing and communication team. If you're in Oregon and you'd still like to join the WLA one, because I'm in it, and you want to like me to shepherd you through, no problem. But our goal is to select an event, a committee, or a conference, or some sort of development that you want to participate in. So I'm going to change that. That should not be October 10th. That should be October 16th. If you're in Oregon, this is the Oregon Association of School Librarians. They have Oregon Library Association, has divisions, committees, roundtables, task force. But if you just go on here, which again is on the Sakai site, and we look through here, there are awards committees. If you would like to reach out to them and offer to read some of the books with your students. There is a Beverly Cleary Choice Award. So if you're not familiar with that, that is some of the work you could be doing and helping with. There is the Oregon Battle of the Books. So if that's something you do in your school, right? Amelia's like, done. Okay. Okay. Then Amelia would reach out and just say, hey, we're doing Battle of the Books. Is there something I can do? It looks like registration is open. Maybe Amelia's already registered. Hey, right? So we want to make sure that whatever you pick, you actually like to do. So there are some people who are really on about standards. I know you are maybe one of those people. You literally could go up to the Oregon School Library Standards Committee. You can reach out to them. They say right here, here are the learning goals. And then you could reach out to them and offer to teach from one of them, give a sample lesson. So really, this is whatever makes sense for you in your library. Okay. So if you're like, I don't know what makes sense for my library, I don't have a library, then you're going to want to either reach out to me and we can work on something, or think about what works with the librarian you're working with for the mentorship, right? Or just something you have a passion for. So again, this is not a big assignment, but it is one of the participation goals here, the proposal participation, that we try to get that as soon as possible so that for the rest of the 9 weeks, right, that you have something in mind that you want to do. Y'all, you're mostly siloed, right? I don't know very many of you who have 2 librarians in one school. It's a gift. So the more you can reach out to your state organizations and participate with them, the better. This is the final reflection. This is not due until December. But if you want to see the rubric for how I will be assessing you, that is there. Questions for me about this assignment?
It's Dr. Holly.
Hi,
I already
Dr.
belong to the Oregon.
Excellent. You're
Oh.
halfway there. Good job.
As far as the conference, actually on Friday, our district has a professional development day, full professional development day, and the librarians are already always separated out, and we'll be having our own full day
Great.
training and professional, development. So again, it's a 50% position. This is a lot. It just really is. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go with this, but
well, I would say you're right, Dr. Ali, and in just perspective, and this is actually not a good thing. In Washington State, and specifically in Seattle public schools, all of our elementaries are 50%, which is garbage, by the way. But anyway, that being said, so you have to figure out from the list for Oregon, what are some things you're already doing that could work for you, or what's a passion you have that you're like, oh, I already do Battle of the Books, or I already do, I already talk about awards when I talk about books, right? So I'm sure you already do that when you read with kids. So you're going to find one of those passions you already have with your students that you could then use that passion and support something with your state organization. And you might already do something with your state organization if you're already part of them. I'm not sure.
No.
But okay. So I will say, so if you're fired up and you want to join a committee, or you want to join a task force, or you want, like, right on. But if not, there are other possibilities that your OASL make really easy to be part of. I'm actually quite impressed. WLA is not sectioned off like this. So you actually have to dig a little deeper if you're a Washington librarian. Folks, we have 3 minutes left. I want to make sure I stay on the call if there's anybody who needs some more support around what they could be doing. But otherwise, you have your 1 minute prompt in 1 minute. Move this over to. Are there any questions for me right now?
For the main article, are we just to read it? And okay.
I'm not having any assignments related to the main article. So I will ask you like, hey, what's a lifted line, or what's something you thought about when we return next week on Tuesday. And then I'll be like, oh, what have you learned in social media? How does what you read in the article relate to what we've been doing on social media, or what you've learned from your state organization? You know what I mean? I'm trying to do this thread through. Andrew's like, yeah, I know what you're doing. I see it. I do it every day with kids. Yep. Melissa, is that just a stretch? Good for you, right?
I've been in meetings since after school today.
Oh my God, I'm
I
so
don't know
sorry.
why Tuesdays become like the meeting day.
I don't. Oh well,
And-
mine's Wednesday, so I feel bad for you.
Also, did everyone know that it's a full moon? Like, that's why the kids have all been acting. I just, in case anybody didn't know that.
The moon's been gorgeous. And folks, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop recording. I am going to